What's up, everybody? It is Monday. A very special show today. And only 3 games, so we'll just be kind of talking. It'll be an abbreviated show. And we'll just kind of do our thing like we always do. Try not to blow everyone's ears out. Can you hear it, Davis?
Yeah, you're not blowing my ears out.
That volume just right. Let me know, chat, when it hits the optimal volume. I guess that's joining me on the chats, we have the one, the only, Davis Maddock.
What's up, everybody?
Davis, you look good, man. You look like you've got a lot of rest.
Dude, I slept 8 hours last night. It was amazing, man. I drove back to my apartment in Manhattan. I finally feel rested.
So, you're back in college. Doesn't start till next week, though, right?
Yeah, but I have a bunch of work I have to get done for some extracurricular stuff to do this week. So I'm gonna be pretty busy this week. So that's my life, dude. I like to never take a day off.
Oh, sounds cool, man. Extracurricular stuff.
Yeah, except it's not cool. It's super nerdy.
Our good buddy Grant Girton, our condolences go out to him because he is traveling for his grandfather's funeral. So he let me know yesterday that he wouldn't be able to make the show today, but to tell everyone that he misses you guys and loves you all. It's just not it's not the same without the energy that Grant brings. So Davis, I'm gonna need you to just really bring it today. Can you do that?
No, I can do that.
Like, give us your best Grant impression.
I don't know if I can talk as much as Grant can, dude.
He just talks.
Him and Ben, they love to explain every facet for why they want to play a player.
Yeah, they go into detail. But Grant, when I first met him, he was like, he was just all about it. He was just going a million miles. It's like we had been friends for 10 years when I met him in Chicago. So the guy is just one of the good guys of the industry, and he is his energy is just off the charts, and because of that, he's able to get stuff done in a quick amount of time. Already has that DFS Elite app up and running, which is a really, really cool mobile app. If you haven't checked it out, you'll be able to check it out, I guess, sometime in the upcoming months. Also wanted to discuss a few things. Again, only 3 games on the slate today, so we'll just kind of be going here and there. We'll touch on some news later, but with 3 games, the only reason why you're really playing is because you are a degenerate, or you just
and Philly plays tonight, so you got it. Every night Philly plays, everyone the own percentages of all the opponents are 80% anyways. So really, it's not that different from a normal night when Philly plays.
You also have D. Will, who's going to be possibly out. Pero Antish, I think, is how Dave told me it was pronounced. He is going to be starting for the Hawks, but it's just not a lot of stuff going on tonight. But again, if you don't like the national championship game and just want to have some NBA knowledge, well then, for sure, you definitely want to get it. Oh man, Davis, I just now saw the view that you get to have. You've got a really good view.
I get to see myself twice. Yeah. No, this is great. Actually, I get to see myself 3 times.
So people can't see you in the monitor, but your Davis is on the big TV, so eventually we'll get it set up to where you can see him. Some news around the industry. Let's just start with the Condia news. There were some export errors, or not some errors, but it's really errors from the site, from FanDuel. And it was just really funny on Friday and Saturday how everything worked out. People thought that he had played Danilo Gallinari. Then they went off to his original lineup with Danilo actually did better than the lineup that he actually exported that no one could see. And so people that thought that they had lost to Condia actually won, like our good buddy Drew Dinkmeyer. And then the next day he had another case where he subbed out 2-2. Just didn't look good, and I agreed with Drew's assessment that while I don't believe anything fishy went on at all, I do think that the sites need to make sure and take precaution that their site can handle enough action to where it does not look shady, because for many people, perception is reality.
Yeah, they have to upgrade. This can't happen again. Like this, it is totally above board, and Condia didn't cheat, and neither did FanDuel. But it's still a black eye, because this is the sort of stuff people are worried about with the industry. That it's going to be like Poker Stars or Party Poker or Full Tilt, where stuff was happening that was very much not above board. Like, and that's a legitimate concern. And so stuff like this is not good.
Yeah. So. I think that they'll eventually get the technology to handle that. But when someone's playing that many games, and he's the person that the errors are affecting, and all eyes are on him, then that is when it becomes a problem that needs to be fixed ASAP. So I have full, and I said this on Saturday night when it kind of all hit the fan, but I have full confidence in FanDuel, in the industry. As much action as Condia brings to FanDuel, it's still not worth. They're not going to risk millions and millions of dollars and let someone cheat. It's not going to happen. I know it happened in the poker industry, but even more reason why I don't think it would happen.
Yeah, but the difference is like, UB was owned by players. UB was owned by people who are playing on their site. FanDuel it's not the same thing. And I saw a bunch of like non-DFS people who like play casually, like on my timeline, talk about how it was like that, and it's not the same thing at all.
Yeah. They're two different things, and I think that a lot of the people that really kind of got upset on Saturday, I think, are just the people that like to get upset. I don't mean any offense if you were one of the people that did get upset, but it's just, I really didn't find, once the facts were kind of presented and you kind of took a step back and looked at the facts and looked at everything and saw the rational explanation, I didn't have a problem with it. And those that continue to just to kind of stir things, I think it's just because they like to stir things. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my take on it. We'll see how it goes. I mean, obviously there's a lot of jokes, and this will be like a running joke for the our little industry. As it even becomes bigger, people will be talking about late swapping and all that other stuff on FanDuel. Like it's going to be a running joke. So people just
someone tweeted. I had someone tweet at me that they swear that he had some Spurs in his lineup the night of the Arena Fire, and that it got switched out. And I was like, dude, come on, no.
Speaking of the Arena Fire, good news. They rescheduled that game for April 8th. So if you guys had some Spurs in that game when the fire happened, April 8th, that's your day to put them back in your lineup and see if Popovich actually plays. Because I think it turns that week into like a 4-game week for the Spurs. So if they've already got it locked up, you'll probably get popped. That'll just happen. You just have to know. You just have to know that's coming. Other news that we have is that we released finally our live NBA value tool. value charts. It's something that we've been working on for a while. It's unique to the industry, and something that we kind of took something that I've wanted to do for a while, and also took in other people's input, used Drew and Mike's, their constant factor for value, which I think is pretty cool. What is your take on value, Davis? Are you more in the multiplier realm? Or are you like that's more like the stars and scrub kind of value? Or are you in the constant factor where you want just to have some consistency in your lineups?
I mean, I do when I do my lineups, I do the target score. Like I like go around and I do my projections. I have a couple different sites that I do projections from, and then I try and create a lineup that hits the target score. So like 225 on Draft Street, 300 on FanDuel. Like that's what I'm trying to do when I set lineups. So I guess that would probably be the constant then, because sometimes you're going to put guys in your lineup that you know aren't going to meet value. Like just because, like the other night, this was I think 3 or 4 nights ago. It was like the top options were like Chris. It was the night Chris Paul got hurt, and I ended up playing Love instead of Blake Griffin, just because I was like, well, I feel more confident that Love is going to get to his 40 fantasy points no matter what. Now that ended up being the wrong play. But yeah, like to me, I'm not necessarily looking at individual guys. I'm looking at like lineup construction to get to a score.
Definitely. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat, and this tool is something that is people are going to spend a lot of time on, because it's fun to not only just see across different industry or across different sites, but also to see kind of the fantasy points per minute, the number of minutes played, just for giggles, basically the number of assists, like top number of assists. And Dan, Mr. Tuttle, went to the Packers game yesterday and came back, and he kind of summed it up. He said, now, after being gone for a day of DFS, I see how valuable this tool is. So we have some more stuff coming to it, but it's really the first tool that we have launched, and if people like this, then I'm sure they're going to like some of the other stuff.
Well, and it's the first public database that does fantasy points per minute, right? Or no?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it done anywhere else. But the good thing is that it's all live, so it updates throughout the night and as the games progress, and so you don't have to wait for us to manually input all the stats. So that's you can kind of see as the night progresses who are the most valuable players. So if you haven't seen it, we can show it to you right now. There, if you go to fantasyinsiders.com/tools/NBA value_charts, it's kind of our hidden domain that we have right now. You have basically 5 tabs, and for the 5 most popular sites out there. And then you can click, you'll see the green is for those who hit value in those areas. So all the columns are sortable. You can sort by fantasy points per minute, which is pretty cool, that you can see who had the most fantasy points per minute across the different sites. And minutes played is also something that is going to be really easy to take a look at when you have all the database. So like, I thought that Dellavedova was the top scorer of the day, or the top minutes guy of the day. And then I looked at the database, and turns out that Ty Lawson was. And see, I'd already kind of turned off the game by then, because Soccer Dave did not have a very good night. So
Dion Waiters, man. And if he didn't get hot in the fourth quarter, like if he didn't start heat checking there in the fourth quarter, it could have been so much worse.
He also... Well, actually, no, it was Earl Clark that ruined overtime by stepping out of bounds.
Out of bounds.
What are you going to do? So, anyways, you can go at the end of the night and see who played the most minutes, and then the multiplier. So these are site-specific, and you've got the salaries for each person. And eventually we'll have all the data in place where you can go back in time and see the value a month ago if you wanted to. So it's going to be pretty sweet. I'm going to have a video with the roto expert guys as far as on explaining the constant, because it's pretty cool. The constant is basically how many points above the threshold. So you see right here, Nate Robinson was 23.5 points above that threshold. So obviously he was the most valuable. Nate Robb, man, he was a Dink called that a Soccer Dave play, but I didn't have him yesterday, and I wish I would have. Did you have him anywhere?
No, I stacked the wrong. Like I used like Wilson Chandler. I got Fareed right, but I had Hickson everywhere, and Hickson didn't. Hickson started off okay, and then didn't do anything in the second half. Mozgov was the play. Mozgov was sick last night, and I didn't have him anywhere.
Yeah, and Papa Cub asking how you get to it from the side. Eventually, there will be a tools tab, but for right now, you'll just have to go directly to it. As far as the dollars divided by fantasy points, that used to be kind of the and I was just as guilty of it, as what we called value. And now we have it on there, but really it's not even necessary unless you're just used to kind of seeing things in that denomination.
Well, and it messes stuff up too. And I noticed this with football projections, but like guys like Marquise Goodwin, who would be like 2K on Draft Street, would a lot of the times be like the highest projected points per dollar. And like that's what you'll see like Darrell Wright's name. Like if you go to Basketball Monster and sort for value a lot, because he's just stayed 3K forever. And if he gets to 12 points, like he's going to be at the top of the value column. And but that's not actually it's not valuable if that guy meets that projection.
Right. And that's why I think that's why it's kind of the term value is kind of ever evolving, and when we recommend players as a value play, it's not just kind of that you want to kind of take into consideration what they can get and what certain threshold they need to meet to get that value. So it's all good. As far as the rest, we have about 20 minutes. And I want to talk about just some strategy stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in chat, and we'll try to answer as far as strategy goes. I want to talk about just the tournaments and the tournaments on the different sites. Multiple entries. If you want to just go with one entry, if you think that multiple entries hurts your chances, and also about the different kind of strategies as far as the lineups that you throw out there across the different sites. What is your favorite site to play on, Davis, for tournaments?
The Draft Street, like $5 when you can buy 10 teams. Those are I've had like the best success. Like 2 weeks ago, I think I had like an 8th, a 10th, and a 12th, like all within a week. That's the way that their strategy, the way that their pricing is, seems to be most beneficial to doing multiple teams.
Yeah. 10 teams for me just seems a little bit much.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do 10 teams, obviously.
Right. What I like to do, though, for people that have the bankroll is I will register for the max number of entries, like on Draft Street, have 10 entries, and then double up or triple up. So if you hit twice or 3 times. And those have been some of my biggest cashes as a player there on Draft Street. And Draft Street, they do have pretty strict limit on the number of teams that you can throw in there. But for me, a lot of people disagree, and they say that you don't need to hedge. You just need to throw one lineup in. For me, I always, on Draft Street or DraftDay, DraftKings, I always like to throw in an alternate lineup, at least one alternate lineup, because on a given day, there can be a lot of different options. And so if you do have the ability to throw in an alternate lineup, then do it. And when you throw in that alternate lineup, some of the things I like to do are fade the obvious play, or go for someone who no one's going to play, just a contrarian play. But basically, something that can get you above the rest. And if it hits, great. If not, well, then you weren't really expecting it to. But those are, with the alternate lineups, kind of what I like to do. We talk about like the super sexy pick of the day. Those alternate lineups likely have the super sexy picks of the day, whereas the first lineup is just the cash lineup. So that's kind of how I view
Well, and
my.
that's something I want to touch on too. Is I'll always enter my cash game lineup in at least one tournament, though. Like I feel like people in basketball, it doesn't. There's not really that much of a difference between your cash game lineup and your tournament lineup. Like maybe you'll take a guy who's like a minute's risk, but like can get hot or something. But like in general, you're really just trying to find optimal plays regardless. It's not like you're. I mean, the only thing is maybe matching up a point guard with his power forward. Like maybe going with Blake instead of Anthony Davis or something if you're playing Chris Paul, because a lot of the times those can, pick and roll, whatever. But other than that, it's really pretty chalk.
Yeah. We had a question as far as what effect does entry price have on tournaments? Easier to cash in games that cost more or less? It's definitely easier to cash in game. Well, it just depends. I guess I see the opposite side of it. So if you have a lot of teams, you have a lot of different entries. And at the lower entry fees, you have like, a 5-person or a $5 1,000-person tournament where the pot is $5,000, or you have 100-person tournament where the entry is $50. For me, it's easier to cash in that $50 tournament just because there's not as many options. You see with like the Slam on FanDuel, and they have a. I mean, it really takes someone to really hit it just right and have a couple plays. You're like, how in the world did that person play that player? But it's such a large player pool that it's a lot more difficult to cash than if you played like in the high stakes Rainmaker there on FanDuel, where I think it's is it a 215 entry or 275?
275.
275 entry. Where it's easier to cash with a better lineup because even though there's better players typically in those larger GPPs, there still is just a less chance of someone to bink the perfect lineup. So that's kind of how I see it. What's going on in the chat?
We're talking about high floor versus high ceiling. Smiz, he makes a good point. There are guys who do have very high floors but have limited ceilings, and those aren't guys that you're like on it. Like there just are some guys that you don't want to play in your tournament lineup just because you know what they are basically on a given night, and that they have less potential to go off for 50 fantasy points or whatever.
Like David West.
Like exactly, David West. David West is like a cash game only guy basically.
Yeah,
I mean maybe,
I've seen him in some tournaments, but for me, he's a cash game guy. But his floor is also higher. I mean, he's just very much a vanilla player.
I love him. I love him on DraftStreet right now when he's at that 10K range, and like he's gonna get you 20 fantasy points, and then if he grabs like a couple extra rebounds or something that he normally does, he's exceeded value.
Yeah. Dink says, but if he's 8K on DraftStreet, he's a fine GPP play. Yes, he is, but he's never 8K on DraftStreet. Is he?
I've never seen him. He's been between 10 and 12K for like the last 3 weeks.
For like the last 3 years. That guy is he just does the same thing night in and night out. Condia likes him and will play him. I try to stay away. I try to go with the guy that has more upside, and that's the thing about GPP is you want to look at the high ceiling guys. But with those high ceiling guys, you can always get burnt. Case in point, Monte Ellis last night. I mean, he burnt me. Waiters, he burnt me. It's a lot of times it's those gunners.
It's guys who shoot a lot, but when they shoot a lot, sometimes they miss a lot.
Yes, and that a lot of times when they're not scoring, their other stats suffer as well. Steals and blocks, those are always key, in the tournaments and like high upside players, like you look, those steals and blocks sometimes are just so much gold. If you can have like 6 combined steals and blocks, right there is 12 fantasy points,
And
and so those are some
this
of
on the
the
show note.
things I look at.
It's very hard to project those like on a night like when Oladipo was starting for the Magic, we'd say, oh well, he's against this team, he's going to get a lot of steals. Or I talked about Ibaka getting a lot of blocks versus the Nuggets because Nuggets bigs get their shot blocked all the time, and he didn't have any. Like it just, but you want guys who have those skills though.
Yeah, we had a question as far as explaining the floor and the ceiling. So a player's floor is basically what you know that even on like a bad night that he is going to get. A ceiling is what they can really do if they get hot. So if David West gets hot, his ceiling is still lower than if a guy like Monte Ellis at the same price point gets hot. And like Paul George, he's another guy that has a really high ceiling. His floor, though, is starting to come up. Even though last night I just could not understand him not taking. He was like 4th in shots among the Pacers, which I just didn't understand. But that's also what you have to take into consideration are people that want to have the ball in their hands and people that want to shoot and want to attack the basket. So as far as the floor and the ceiling goes, that's what I have. That's what I look at. The ceiling is kind of a player's potential. The floor is kind of the player's what you just expect them to do, even on kind of a bad night. You
And
agree?
then I mean, yeah, I do agree. And then there are also some projection sites that give you consistency rankings for like certain statistics, and you can see some guys do this. They get this category a lot. This is a more consistent ranking, and then sometimes they're really volatile in it, so where they have the ability to. They can get a lot of steals, but sometimes they don't. And I mean, if you watch a lot of basketball, that's sort of stuff that you can pick up on anyways.
As far as like the one factor when you do research for like GPP plays, tournament plays. Obviously, we have a lot of tournaments coming up. You've got the DraftDay bracket challenge. You have the January Slam or whatever it's called on DraftKings. You have the King of the Court on FanDuel. So you have a lot of tournaments coming up. If you're looking at one thing, what is it? Pace? Defense versus
Pace.
position?
Pace, and defensive rating of a team. Well, actually, this is what I really look at. I look at teams going against a high pace. So, like, there's some really slow, bad offenses, and if they go against a team that plays really fast, those players all of a sudden get a huge boost in value because they're going to see way more possessions than is priced into their fantasy points per game and reflected pace and defensive rating, which are you can just go to Basketball Reference and look that up. These are not things you have to pay for. Those are to me like some of the most predictive things in fantasy basketball.
Yeah. Pace is definitely something that I look at. And I'm also guilty of looking at what the spread is. If a team is at home and the spread is large. So we've talked about it before, but if a good team is playing a bad team, but the bad team is at home, I'm much more likely to play a player from that good team. So like last night, the Pacers were playing in Cleveland. I was much more likely to play a Pacer because in Cleveland, whereas if it was in Indiana, then I would have probably stayed away because of the blowout factor. So that's kind of one of the things that I look at, but I agree that pace and just number of points scored is probably the biggest. If there's going to be a lot of points scored in a game and there's going to be more shots, more possessions, especially when looking at your guards, your ball handlers, those
Yeah.
are the stats that you definitely want to take a look at because it's just increased opportunities basically.
Well, and for power forwards and centers a lot, I look at rebound rate of the bigs they're going to be playing against. So like DeAndre or like Dwight Howard is like leading the league in rebound rate right now. So playing someone who gets like 13% like at a big disadvantage.
You cut out that last part. Can you say that again?
Well, yeah, just like if you look at rebounding rate for bigs, don't play. I try to avoid playing guys against opposing bigs who play a lot of minutes and have a really outstanding rebounding rate.
And why is that?
Oh God, did I freeze again?
No, no, no.
Okay.
I love that hair, by the way.
Smith said he wanted to see what my hair looked like. This is what it looks like when it's not in a hat.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot to take care of, so I just wear a hat instead.
If you see my receding hairline, my thin hair, you know why I'm jealous. Like, if I won one of those $1 million tournaments, I would get plugs, and it wouldn't even be an issue.
For real?
For real.
You're married, though, dude. What do you need hair for?
Just, like, to wave it in the air and stuff.
Dude, I don't know, man. I feel like at that point you're just gonna be like, it's whatever. I don't know. Maybe your life would be better with hair plug.
Yeah, I just think it, like, has to do with confidence, really. Like, if you have thinning hair, I mean, I'm not even 30 yet. Next week. A week from tomorrow, I'll be 30.
Are you maybe gonna have the same birthday as your kid?
Possibly.
Dude, how sweet would that be?
It'd be pretty
And
sweet.
then, what if you banked a GPP the same night?
I don't think I'll be playing the night that my daughter's born, but if I've already created my lineups and then she comes later on the night, I doubt that I will be even remotely interested in my team. If I am, and if you hear, if I am, I probably won't be back for this show. I'll probably be dead.
Yeah.
Can you see me in the delivery room doing this right here?
No, I can see you. I can see you being like, all right, what's Waiters' price point? I need to check Basketball Monster on my phone. Yeah, no, I can see it.
And like I win it on the last second shot right as the baby comes out, and she thinks I'm like crying because of the baby.
That's a movie, dude. That is a movie.
At least a commercial. Have you seen that terrible Gus Johnson commercial?
I don't watch TV, man.
Where they're basically calling the birth, and the baby shoots out, and it hits. They like catch the baby, and Billy Packer says that kid's got some onions. Have you never seen that commercial?
Never, man.
It's pretty new. It's pretty terrible though. Also, all right. Let's talk about some of the plays for tonight. You have these games. There's only 3 games. The T-Wolves versus the 76ers, which is kind of fits into what we just talked about. It's a bad team playing at home, so the spread's not that high. It's a 7.5-point spread. You also have the Hawks and the Nets, kind of a blah game, and then the Magic and the Clippers. And the Clippers are at home, and they're actually almost a 10-point favorite over the Magic, which, if it were me, I'd probably guess I'd probably take the points on that, because I think this is closer than a 10-point game. The Clippers were down 35 to the Spurs at halftime the other night. Clearly, they've got some growing pains.
When Chris Paul is not on the floor, they don't have. They're a bad team, because Blake and DeAndre are not good defensive bigs. They're just not. I mean, DeAndre can block shots, but outside of that, he's pretty lost, I think.
Yeah, it's. I like this game tonight, though. I like the players in this game, and these are all like the Hawks and the Nets. Like that's not going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be.
I have exactly one player from that game in my FanDuel lineup.
It's going to be a terrible game. It's going to be a terrible game to watch. But you have those other two, which are going to be like, they might not be pretty as far as that 76ers T-Wolves game, but it's going to be fun, especially if you have some of those studs. Michael Carter-Williams is going to be playing tonight.
Is that confirmed? I hadn't seen that yet.
He said earlier in the day, so I haven't seen anything that says he's not playing. but they said he's been cleared. He's going to be playing. So he's going to be fun, and that matchup with he and Rubio is going to be really fun. So it's going to be good watching that. Meanwhile, you have some of the value players on draft day. Jamal Crawford, I think, is cheaper than Collison. Give me Jamal Crawford if that is true.
Yeah, for sure.
But Darren Collison is obviously he's been a point guard in the past, and in that offense, he's still very valuable.
He's a bad basketball player though.
He's not that bad in that system.
Maybe in that system, but I don't know, man. He is. I don't know how many people listen to this actually really like basketball or just play DFS, but I really like basketball, so I listen to lots of podcasts and stuff. And both of the CBS writers, Matt Moore and Zach Harper, they're not fans of his game.
Just because he likes to shoot a lot, or
Harper in particular thinks that he's just terrible. That's how he is. He's just like a kind of an irreverent guy, but he just doesn't like anything about his game.
It's one of those things where I thought he was a really good signing for the Clippers because he can come in short spurts and kind of be that spark player. But now you're expecting him to be, play an extended amount of minutes, and it's going to be interesting with that rotation. Jared Dudley was a guy that I thought was going to do a lot better last game. Did not. I think he's going to have a little bit better game, but he's minimum salary on a few different sites. He would be a guy that I would target if you need some salary cap relief. Like on draft day, he's $5K. I think he's just going to be shooting the ball a lot. As far as other guys, Pekovic is just kind of a monster on the boards lately. I'm looking for him to use and abuse Spencer Hawes tonight. Agree or disagree?
Agree. Yeah, he's like an auto play. That's not even. You start your lineup with Love and Peck, and then move from there. I think.
Some questions. Any word on Garnett tonight? I have not heard anything on him. We also have a Collison at 3,800 on FanDuel looks nice. Yeah, he's a must play on FanDuel. There's gonna be a lot of overlap on that site.
Yeah, he's gonna be like 90% owned.
He's gonna be like 100% owned.
Kevin Love should be 100% owned tonight, though. Kevin Love might hit 80 fantasy points for real. If Philly plays as good as they did against the Blazers, and this is just a competitive game, he seriously could.
Jared Dudley, example of a low floor player. Yeah, he would definitely be the example of a low floor player. CJ Miles, same thing. He went off last night, and when you're giving him the amount of shots that he has, he can definitely go nuts when he's hitting. It's just CJ Miles is a lot more riskier than Dudley is, because now I think you've got some people that are going to be expected to step up. He also says that was a statement, not a question, and I was agreeing with you, not answering you. How you like that? How you like that, Fear the Turtle? How you like it? Is it Fear the Turtle? Are you Fear My Turtle on FanDuel? Because there is a Fear My Turtle who is in that college football game that if Rashad Green has a good night, he might take over that 20K in that tournament.
I punted the King of Campus so hard, dude. I did for that freshman quarterback from LSU, and he just did not swag it out even a little bit.
Well, yeah, I did pretty good. I would be first if I played Josie over. And Dink's going to kill me because I recommended him. But Josie over Roland for Oklahoma State. But I still think that's the right call. Here's the thing, because someone asked me last night if I was upset, because if I did play Josie, I'd be in first with the potential to win 20K or at least 8K, 12K, because I don't think I'm staying in third place there now. For me, I don't get upset if a player never crossed my mind. I get upset when I have like a group of players and I could have put the pieces right. Like I was high on a bunch of different players, I didn't have the right combo. Or there was one person that was in there that it should have been another player I was high on that was in there. That's when like it kind of grates on me. If there's a player that I didn't even like really think of that just kind of goes off out of the blue, I just don't get upset myself.
Yeah, you can't be mad. Like earlier in the season, I got second in a draft street GPP because this guy stacked SMU players and they went to triple overtime. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna play Garrett Gilbert, bro. I'm not about the SMU life.
Not about that Mustang life. You there?
No. Yeah, no, I'm not. Dink is just venting on you in the chat right now. He's not happy.
He says, I get upset when no players ever cross my mind because I know nothing. Then I ask the people who know something about the players that didn't cross their mind, and they give me the wrong answer. Well, all I know is karma, Drew. Karma. Because I'm sure that's happened to a few other people that you have referred to them. Let's take a look at the draft day pick 5. This is when like the pick 5 is really fun. Or the rapid fire on draft day, when you have a limited number of games and you just want something to cheer for at the end of the night. So, Paul Millsap or Blake Griffin tonight?
Griffin.
Give me... Woo! Give me Griffin at home. So I'll agree with that. Evan Turner or Ricky Rubio?
Ricky Rubio.
Rubio, we're all about that. I think Rubio has a really nice game. He's never going to be like a big scorer, but man, he's capable of getting 6 or 7 steals tonight.
Dude, he can get to 40 fantasy points, scoring like 8 actual points. It's ridiculous.
He's really fun to watch too. Michael Carter Williams or Thad Young?
MCW.
Yeah, man. Thad Young had an amazing night last game. He's had an amazing past 2 weeks, but I just don't think he can continue shooting like he has.
I think he can. I just think MCW has an MCW game.
Fair enough. Collison or Crawford? Interesting. We talked about this earlier.
I'm going to go Crawford. I really don't think Collison is that good.
Really?
Yeah.
I will go... Yeah, I think that Crawford is just the guy you have to go with. Because he's... It's close, but I think that he's the guy that you have to go with. So I will go with Crawford. Livingston or Pero? This is an interesting one.
I got Antich.
Okay, the one reason why I would not go Antich is if there is news that Williams is going to be... D. Will is going to be out for the game. So yeah. That would definitely change things for me. But I will go Antich right now. So I'm guessing that's how Scott has us twapped with the booby twap. So
he likes to do that.
Yes, that he does. We have some comments or questions in the chat. Tobias or Damare? I think you have to go with Tobias, right?
Yeah.
Dudley, Turner, Young, or Crawford, Pierce, and Griffin?
The Pierce Griffin, I think.
Crawford, Pierce, and Griffin. Yeah, I would go that way. Yeah. Let's see. And that's it. That's all the questions we have for today. So again, only 3 games, not a lot, but we got to cover quite a bit. Again, condolences go out to our good buddy Grant for the passing of his grandfather as he travels, and he will be back with us next week. Davis, you'll be on with us tomorrow as we talk about or talk with Nap. Nap is going to be on the show, so be ready for some Kung Fu matchups. And also, make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our Twitter feed, because I think we have at least one promotion that we're going to be running out this week. So should be a fun time. And Davis, you're like the backup man. If something you need to keep the bat phone ready. If something happens to me as far as wife going to labor, you're going to be Soccer Dave for the day. So,
well, I am gonna be on the road starting on Thursday, so we might need to have a Robin in that scenario.
You can't be on the road.
I can do this show on my phone on the road.
We might have to have a call-in show where you just call in, and we just have a picture of me on there.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
One last thought. Aflalo playing back in L.A. Any thoughts? He usually does pretty well when he's back in L.A. Is he your boy tonight?
I used to be jealous of Aaron Aflalo. He was the one to follow.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar. I love Aaron Aflalo.
I probably won't be having any shares of him, especially now that Harris is
No,
back.
I'm playing. I mean, do you want me to just give? I'll just give out my FanDuel lineup right now. I don't care.
I bet you won't.
I will, and it doesn't have Aflalo in it. I have MCW. I have Collison, Kmart, Corver, Evan Turner, Corey Brewer, Kevin Love, Harrison Peck.
Well, there you have it.
I feel like a lot of lineups are going to look like that tonight. Like, I really don't. There's already a ton of overlap when the Sixers play anyways, but tonight it's going to be ridiculous. I'm really not going to play very much tonight.
Awesome. You the man. Follow Davis at Davis Maddock, and you can follow me at Soccer Dave. We just have fun all day. That's all we do, is have fun and make money. So tell your friends. Tomorrow we'll be back 3:30 Eastern Time. Me, Davis, and Nap taking over. Right, Davis? Come on.
Yeah,
give us a shot of you just like punching something.
Punching? I don't have anything to punch, man. My room doesn't have any stuff.
Come on, act like you're on the speed bag.
Wait, hold on. I can punch Han Solo, if anyone's interested in that. Speed up Han Solo. That's how much of a thug I am.
Oh my gosh, you just punched Han Solo. Alright, well, that'll do it. That's a good ending to the show. We'll see y'all later.